The rain fell like bullets on Seoul's neon-lit streets. Lee Jin-hyuk stood in the shadows outside Club Obscure, cigarette smoke curling around his face like a ghost. His sharp eyes, cold as winter steel, watched a woman stumble out of his club's back entrance. Designer heels caught on wet pavement. She fell hard, mascara streaking down her face in black rivers. Another broken heart. The fifth this month. His bodyguards moved forward, but Jin-hyuk raised one hand. They froze. He took a slow drag from his cigarette, the ember glowing red in the darkness. The woman looked up, saw him watching, and her face crumpled. She scrambled to her feet and ran into the rain, disappearing into the maze of alleyways that made up Seoul's underbelly. Jean felt nothing. Taehoon, his underboss, approached carefully. The shipment from Bususan arrived. No problems. Good. Jin's voice was a blade. Smooth, sharp, deadly. Sirens wailed somewhere in the distance. Another problem being cleaned up. Another night in the empire he'd built from ash and blood. 15 years ago, he'd been a different person. A boy who believed in family, in loyalty, in love. Then they came. Rival gang members with guns and gasoline. His mother, his father, his 12-year-old sister, Minji, who collected stickers and dreamed of becoming a teacher. All gone in one night. Young Jean had crawled from the burning house, hands slick with his sister's blood, and made a promise to her ghost. Never again, never weak, never soft, never in love. Power was the only language this world understood, and he'd learned to speak it fluently. Dispose of tonight's security footage, Jin-hyuk said, crushing his cigarette under an expensive Italian shoe. All of it already done, boss. Across the city in a cramped studio apartment in Itaewon, Kemi Adebayo sat hunched over her sewing machine. Golden lamplight caught the rich fabric sliding through her hands. Midnight blue silk that would become a dress for Korea's most famous actress. Her fingers moved with practiced grace, needle-piercing fabric in perfect rhythm. The clock on her wall read 3:15 a.m. Her eyes burned with exhaustion, but she kept working. Sleep was a luxury she couldn't afford. Not when she was this close to making her dream real. Not when every rejection, every dismissive look from Korean fashion houses, every whispered, "She's just a foreigner," fueled the fire in her belly. Kemi paused, rolling her shoulders. Her small apartment was an organized chaos of fabric bolts, sketch papers, and half-finished designs. On her wall hung a photograph her father, Emeka Adebayo, standing proud in his union organizer uniform back in Lagos. His smile was wide, his eyes full of hope. He died when she was 16. Killed, fighting, corrupt factory bosses who treated workers like animals. Her mother had wept for months, but Kemi had made a different choice. She'd turned her grief into ambition, her pain into purpose. "I'll make you proud, Papa," she whispered in Yoruba, touching her photograph to Grenly. Her phone buzzed. A message from Soyeon, the actress. "Kemi, wonderful news. There's an exclusive party tomorrow night. All of Seoul's elite will be there. Perfect for networking. I'll send a car. Wear something stunning. This could change everything for you." Kemi's heart leaped. This was it. Her chance. She quickly typed back, "Thank you. I'll be ready." Before bed, she knelt and prayed, a habit her mother had instilled in her. Words in Yoruba flowed from her lips, asking for guidance, for strength, for success with integrity. She had no idea that across the city, Lee Jin-hyuk was staring at a similar invitation to the same party. His expression unreadable. Neither knew that in 48 hours their lives would collide like thunder and lightning. Neither knew they would become weapons pointed at each other's hearts. Neither knew that love and hate would become impossible to separate. If you're watching from the US, Korea, or anywhere in between, drop a comment below. You won't believe what happens when these two finally meet. Hit that like button and subscribe because this story takes a turn no one sees coming. I promise you, someone's heart is about to get destroyed. But who's keep watching? The alarm screamed at 5 a.m. Jin-hyuk silenced it with one swift movement and rose from his king-sized bed. The penthouse apartment was dark, cold, perfect, exactly how he liked it. No warmth, no softness, nothing that reminded him of home. He moved to his private gym, wrapped his hands in black tape, began to pummel the heavy bag. Each punch was precise, controlled, brutal. Sweat slicked his bare torso, highlighting the map of scars that told his story. A knife wound from a rival in Gangnam. A bullet grazed from a deal gone wrong in Incheon. Burn marks from that night in Bususan he could never forget. His body was a war zone. His heart was a cemetery. "Boss, we have a problem with the Hong territory," Taehoon announced, entering the gym. He'd learned long ago not to wait for permission. Jean respected efficiency. "Handle it." Another punch. The bag swung violently. "Choi Sang-wook is getting aggressive. He wants. I don't care what he wants." Jin-hyuk stopped, breathing hard, eyes like frozen bullets. "Tell him if he crosses our line again, I'll send his men back in pieces." Taehoon nodded, but his expression showed concern. The boss was getting colder, more reckless. Two worlds prepared to collide. Jean selected a black suit, custom-made, expensive as a car. His reflection showed a man who looked like a CEO, but moved like a predator. Kemi chose a dress she'd designed herself. Deep purple, elegant, powerful. She wrapped her hair in a golden jelly, traditional Nigerian style. Let them see exactly who she was. Neither could sleep that afternoon. Both felt it. The pull of destiny, the whisper of fate, the sense that tonight would change everything. They were right, but not in any way they could imagine. The penthouse was a temple of wealth and danger. Kemi stepped through the golden doors into a world that screamed power. Crystal chandeliers dripped light like diamonds. Men in suits worth more than her year's rent clustered around ice sculptures shaped like dragons. Women draped in designer gowns laughed behind perfectly manicured hands. The air itself felt expensive. Cologne, champagne, ambition mixed into an intoxicating perfume. She felt eyes on her immediately. Her purple dress caught the light, and her gold Angela head wrap announced exactly who she was. Unapologetically African, unapologetically proud. Let them stare. She'd earned her place here. Soyoung appeared at her elbow, whispering nervously, "You look stunning. Just be careful tonight. Some people here are dangerous." Kemi smiled. "I've dealt with dangerous before." Across the room, Lee Jin-hyuk saw her. Not her beauty first, though she was breathtaking. Not her dress, though it was remarkable. What caught him was her posture. She stood like she belonged. Not seeking approval, not hunting for attention, just existing in her own power. Every woman in this room wanted something from someone. But this woman looked like she'd already claimed her throne. "Who is she, boss?" "That's the designer," Taehoon murmured. "Kemi Adebayo, Nigerian, Soyoung's guest." Jin's lips curved into a predatory smile. "Interesting." He moved through the crowd like a shark through water. People parted instinctively, fear disguised as respect. He approached Kemi with the confidence of a man who'd never been rejected. "You must be Soyoung's designer," he said smoothly. His English perfect, his voice like velvet over steel. "I'm Lee Jin-hyuk, and welcome to my home." Kemi turned, and their eyes met. Thunder, lightning, the air between them crackled. She saw everything in that moment. The cold calculation in his gaze, the predatory interest, the assumption that she'd melt like all the others. She recognized the type immediately. Her father had fought men like this. Men who believed money bought everything, including people. "I know who you are, Mr. Lee," she said coolly. "I'm not interested in men who think they can buy respect or women." The room seemed to hold its breath. Jin-hyuk's eyes widened slightly. No one spoke to him this way. His bodyguards tensed, hands moving toward weapons, but he raised one hand, stopping them. An intrigued smile played at his lips. "You have no idea who you're speaking to," he said, voice dropping dangerously low. "I know exactly who you are," Kemi replied, meeting his gaze without flinching. "That's why I'm walking away." She turned and moved towards Soyoung, leaving him standing there, stunned, fascinated, obsessed. Taehoon appeared beside him. "Boss, should we?" Jin's eyes never left Kemi's back. "Leave her." But 20 minutes later, when Kemi was deep in conversation with a potential investor, a Japanese fashion mogul interested in her designs, she felt it, a shift in the room's energy. She glanced up and saw Jean across the space, phone to his ear, eyes locked on hers. He smiled, said something into the phone. The Japanese investor's phone rang. He answered, face going pale. "Yes, of course. My apologies." He turned to Kemi, suddenly cold. "I'm afraid I've made an error. Your designs aren't suitable for our market after all. Good evening." He walked away. Kemi's blood turned to ice, then fire. She watched Jin-hyuk slip through glass doors onto the balcony, and she followed, fury overriding caution. The night air was cold. Soul's light spreading below them like fallen stars. What do you want? She demanded. He turned, leaning against the railing casually. To see if you're real or just performing. Real. She laughed bitterly. You just destroyed a business opportunity because I wouldn't stroke your ego. That's what's real. You're a child with too much power. Careful, he said softly, dangerously. You don't know what I'm capable of. Then show me. She stepped closer, refusing to be intimidated. Stop playing games and show me who you really are. Something flickered in his eyes. Surprise, respect. Something else she couldn't name. He reached out, fingers brushing her hand. The touch sent electricity through her body. Unexpected and unwelcome. She jerked away, but not before he saw her reaction. I'll see you again, Kemi Adebayo, he said, her name on his lips like a promise and a threat. Don't count on it. She left the party immediately, heart pounding, hands shaking, not from fear, from rage, and something else she didn't want to acknowledge. The next morning, her phone exploded. Soyoung's voice was panicked. Kemi, I'm so sorry. My management just can't let our contract. They said, it came from above. I don't understand. I fought for you, but the call ended. Kemi sat frozen in her apartment, mind racing. Then Funmi burst through the door, face grave. Girl, you insulted Lee Jin-hyuk, Funmi said urgently. He owns half the city. Fashion houses, entertainment companies, politicians, everyone's in his pocket. You're finished. We need to get you out of Korea before. Kemi's voice was steel. Kemi, this isn't Lagos. You can't fight him. But Kemi was already at her laptop, fingers flying across the keyboard. If he wanted war, she'd give him war. But she'd fight smart. Hours of research revealed the truth. Lee Jin-hyuk wasn't just a businessman. He was a crime lord. Smuggling, extortion, illegal operations across Seoul. And there, buried in financial records she'd hacked, she found it. Garment factories in Incheon, employing immigrant workers, Nigerian workers, exploited, underpaid, trapped. She called one of the numbers listed. A woman answered, voice exhausted. My name is Kemi. I'm Nigerian. I want to help. The woman, Ngozi, wept as she told her story. 12-hour days, wages stolen, threats when anyone complained. Please, Ngozi begged. Someone has to stop him. Kemi stared at her father's photograph on the wall. If he wants to play games, she whispered, I'll play. But by my rules. She began building her case. Documents, testimonies, evidence, enough to destroy him. But to gather it all, she'd need to get close to him. Very close. The hunter was about to become the hunted, and she had no idea. She just declared war on the most dangerous man in Seoul. Week one of their war began with flowers. A bouquet arrived at Kemi's apartment. 100 white roses, elegant and expensive. The card read, for the woman who walks away, LJH. Kemi returned them the same day with her own note. Try harder. Day 3, a designer handbag limited edition worth more than her rent. She sent it back with, is this all the great Lee Jin-hyuk has? Day 5, diamond earrings that could buy a car. Her response, boring. In his penthouse, Jean read her latest note and laughed. Actually laughed. Taehoon stared at his boss like he'd grown a second head. Boss, she's mocking you. Let me handle this. Jin's eyes glowed with something dangerous. She's perfect. The coincidental meeting started next. Kemi's favorite coffee shop in A1. Suddenly, Jean was there, suit immaculate, espresso in hand. What a surprise, he said smoothly. Stalking is beneath you, Kemi replied, not looking up from her sketchbook. Is it stalking if I own the building? She finally met his eyes. Then I'll find another coffee shop. She did. He appeared there too the next day. Art gallery opening in Gangnam. There he was, studying a painting beside her. Your thoughts on the piece? He asked. I think, she said carefully, that some people collect beautiful things because they don't know how to create beauty themselves. They're empty inside, so they surround themselves with borrowed meaning. His jaw tightened, harsh, honest. At the gym, she'd started using to clear her head. Of course, he had a membership. Watched her run on the treadmill with an intensity that made her skin prickle. She stopped, walked over. This is pathetic. Following me around like a lovesick teenager. I expected better from Seoul's most feared gangster. He smiled. I'm a businessman who crushes people for fun. I did my research. Mr. Something dark flickered across his face. Then you know what I'm capable of. I know you're used to getting what you want. Consider me the exception. But Taehoon was worried. Really worried. Boss, you're distracted. The Bususan shipment almost got intercepted because you were late to the meeting. Choi Sang-wook is getting aggressive and you're chasing some woman who doesn't even finish that sentence and you'll regret it. Jin said quietly. Taehoon swallowed. Boss, remember what happened with Sujin. Remember how you got when she's nothing like Sujin. Jin's voice was ice. Sujin wanted to change me. Kemi doesn't give a damn what I am. That's the difference. While Jin obsessed, Kemi investigated. She met Ngozi in a small restaurant in Itaewon, far from prying eyes. The Nigerian woman was thin, exhausted, her hands scarred from factory work. We work 14 hours sometimes, Ngozi whispered, glancing around nervously. No breaks. They lock the doors so we can't leave. Last month, a girl got hurt. Machine took 3 of her fingers. They didn't take her to hospital, just fired her and brought in someone new. Kemi's hands trembled with rage. And it's definitely Lee's operation. His name is on the building. His men collect the money. Ngozi grabbed Kemi's hand desperately. Please, you're the first person who's listened. We can't go to police. Half of them work for Lee. We can't quit. They threatened to have us deported. We're trapped. I'll stop him. Kemi promised. I swear it. That night, she added Ngozi's testimony to her growing file. Documents, photos of the factories, financial records showing money laundering, testimonies from 6 workers. Now, she was building a case that could destroy him. But Funmi found the evidence hidden under Kemi's bed. Are you insane? Funmi screamed. Kemi, if he finds out, you won't just your business. You'll lose your life. This man kills people. This isn't some corrupt Lagos boss. This is the Korean Mafia. My father died fighting men like him, Kemi said firmly. I won't back down. Your father is dead, Kemi. Is that what you want? Silence stretched between them. I want justice, Kemi finally said. And I'm going to get it. Then everything shifted. Soyeon called, voice shaking. Kemi, I'm sorry. Jin-hyuk contacted my management. He said, unless you agree to have dinner with him, he'll destroy my career completely. I told him no. I told him I wouldn't be part of. It's okay. Kemi interrupted, mind already working. Tell him yes. What, Kemi? Tell him yes, but on my terms. Public restaurant. 1 hour. That's it. This was her chance. Get closer. Gather more evidence. Play him the way he thought he was playing her. She chose the restaurant. Busy, popular, safe. She arrived in traditional Nigerian attire. A stunning anchor dress, Angela. Her armor and her identity combined. Let him see exactly who he was dealing with. Jean was already there. Private corner booth expecting victory. His expression when he saw her. Respect flickered in those cold eyes. You came, he said, standing. You blackmailed me. Don't pretend this is a date. Fair enough. He gestured to the seat across from him. 1 hour. You have my word. They sat ordered. The verbal sparring began immediately. Why do you hate me? He asked finally, genuinely curious. I don't hate you, Kemi said, leaning forward. I pity you. All that power, all that money, and you're still trying to prove something to who? Your dead family, yourself. Everyone can see it. Mister, you're desperate to feel something, anything. So, you play with people's lives like toys. It's pathetic. For the first time, his mask cracked. Real emotion flashed across his face. Pain, anger, something vulnerable he quickly buried. You don't know anything about me, he said, voice rough. Then tell me, why a man with everything acts like he has nothing? Silence. He stared at her for a long moment. This woman who saw through his armor like it was glass. Then he began to speak, words coming slowly, carefully, like he was defusing a bomb. I had a sister, Minji. She was 12, bright, funny. She wanted to be a teacher. His voice dropped. They killed her in front of me. Burned our house down with my parents inside. I was 17, powerless, weak. I swore I'd never be weak again. Kemi's anger flickered. She recognized pain when she saw it. Loss. Your sister wouldn't want you hurting innocent people. You don't know what she'd want, he said sharply. But the anger felt hollow now. She'd cracked something open, and they both felt it. The dinner ended in tense silence. But something had shifted between them. 2 people who'd both lost everything, both carrying scars that shaped them. Over the next weeks, their war continued, but it felt different. Less like hatred, more like a dance. He sent her a book, Nigerian poetry, beautiful, thoughtful. She returned it with notes in the margins, her thoughts on love and loss and healing. He showed up at her apartment building during a thunderstorm, soaked and vulnerable. She almost let him in. Almost. I'm not your enemy, she said through the door. But I'm not your prize either. I know, he replied softly. That's why you matter. She investigated deeper, and the evidence grew. Financial records, testimonies, proof of crimes that could destroy him. But she also found something else. Charitable donations made quietly. Medical bills paid for workers hurt in his factories. Educational funds set up for children of immigrant families. He was a monster, yes. But he was also something else. Complex. Capable of change. Maybe. The night everything changed started like all the others. Kimmy working late, Funmi asleep on the couch, rain against the windows. Then her laptop chimed. New email. No sender address. She opened it. Photos. Her and Jean at the restaurant. Her entering his building for meetings she'd never attended. Her visiting factories she'd never seen. All doctored, all lies, but convincing enough to destroy her. The message was simple. Stop investigating. Stop meeting with him. Disappear. Or these photos go public. Everyone will think you're his mistress, his accomplice. Your father's reputation dies with yours. Kimmy's hands shook. Someone else was playing this game. Someone with resources, with reach, with a personal interest in keeping Jean and her apart or together. She couldn't tell which. She grabbed her phone, called the one number she'd never thought she'd call. Jean answered on the first ring. Kimmy, we need to meet. Now, she said. It's not safe to. It's not safe anywhere. Her voice broke. Someone's been watching us. Both of us. They met at Han River, neutral ground. He arrived first, standing under a streetlight like a ghost in his expensive coat. She came from the shadows, her purple wrap bright against the darkness. When he saw her face, saw the fear there, something primal and protective roared to life in his chest. What happened? He demanded. She showed him the photos, the email. His face went hard as stone. Choi Sang-wook, he said quietly. My oldest enemy. He's been waiting for leverage against me for years. Now he has it. What does he want? Kimmy asked. Everything. My territory, my businesses. You. His voice broke on the last word. This is my fault. I should never have. Don't. She interrupted. This isn't your fault. It's his. And we're going to stop him. We. Jin's eyes searched her face. You mean that? I mean it. Her voice was steel. But first, I need to tell you something. I've been investigating you. Building a case. Gathering evidence. I know. He said simply. How long have you known? Since the second week. His smile was sad. You're not as subtle as you think. But you didn't stop me. Because everything you found is true. I am a monster. I have hurt people. Destroyed lives. The only question is whether I can become something else. Can you? For you. He stepped closer. For the people who work in those factories. For your sister's memory. For the man you could be instead of the man you've become. Yes, he whispered. Yes, I can. Then kiss me, she said. And mean it. He kissed her under the Seoul streetlights with the river flowing beside them. Two broken people choosing to heal together instead of destroy each other. It tasted like rain and hope and the beginning of something impossible. But Choi Sang-wook was watching from the shadows, and their war was just beginning. 3 weeks later, everything changed. Kimmy sat in Jin's private apartment, not the cold penthouse where he conducted business, but a smaller place in Hanamdong he'd never shown anyone. Warm lighting, books on shelves, a kitchen that actually looked used. You cook? She'd asked that first night, shocked. Minji taught me, he'd said softly. Before everything. She said a man who can't feed himself is still a child. Now he stood at the stove making kimchi jjigae. His movements practiced, and sure he'd removed his suit jacket, rolled up his sleeves. She could see the scars on his forearms, the tattoo of a white lily, Minji's favorite flower on his wrist. Tell me about her, Kimmy said from the couch, sketching in her notebook. She was fearless, loud, used to steal my video games and beat me at every level. His voice was soft, full of love and pain. She wanted to teach elementary school. Said kids needed someone who believed in them. She believed in everyone, even me. She sounds beautiful. She was. He brought 2 bowls to the coffee table sitting beside her. You would have liked her. She would have loved your designs, especially that purple dress. She loved bold colors. They ate in comfortable silence, and Kimmy's heart twisted. Every moment with him was torture because every moment she fell deeper and every moment she was lying. Her laptop sat in her apartment filled with evidence, factory locations, financial records, testimonies from 8 workers. Now in 3 days she planned to release everything to international press, enough to destroy him completely. But when he looked at her like this, open, vulnerable, real, she wanted to burn it all. Forget the mission. Choose him instead. What are you thinking? He asked, reading her face. That I don't deserve this, she said honestly. Neither do I. He pulled her close, but I'm keeping it anyway. Later, in his bedroom, wrapped in expensive sheets, their bodies intertwined, he whispered against her neck, I've never let anyone see me like this. Never wanted to until you. Kimmy's throat closed. She held him tighter, memorizing every detail. The warmth of his skin, the sound of his breathing, the way he said her name like a prayer. Jean, she whispered, if I told you something that would change everything between us, would you still nothing could change how I feel about you? He interrupted, kissing her forehead. Nothing, but she couldn't say it. Couldn't shatter this moment. So she kissed him instead, pouring all her guilt and love and desperation into it. Morning came too soon. Across the city in Kimmy's apartment, her laptop glowed. The folder labeled evidence contained everything. Fummy sat beside it, arms crossed, waiting. When Kimmy finally came home, Fummy's expression was granite. You're in love with him, Fummy said flatly. No, I'm not. Don't lie to me, Kimmy. I've known you since Lagos. I can see it on your face. You're in love with the man you're planning to destroy. Kimmy's voice broke. I don't know what I'm feeling. Yes, you do. That's the problem. Fummy stood pacing. Those workers in the factories, Ngozi and the others, they're counting on you. Your father died fighting men like Lee, and now you're sleeping with him. What happened to Justice? He's not what I thought, Kimmy whispered, tears streaming down her face. He's exactly what you thought. He's a criminal, a gangster who ruins lives. Funmi grabbed her shoulders. Snap out of it. This is what powerful men do. They make you feel special, seen, loved, and then they destroy you. Don't understand. I understand perfectly. You're choosing a man over your principles. Your father would be ashamed. The words hit like a slap. Kimmy pulled away, wiping her tears. 3 days. I'll release the evidence in 3 days. As planned, but her voice lacked conviction. Meanwhile, Jin Hyuk was changing, too. Taehoon watched his boss with growing confusion. The man who'd been Seoul's most ruthless crime lord was now smiling. Actually smiling at business meetings when deals went wrong instead of threatening violence day, unnegotiated. Compromised boss Choi Sang-wook took 3 of our establishments in Itwon. Taehoon reported, What do you want me to do? The old Jin Hyuk would have ordered retaliation immediately. Bodies, blood, messages. Let him have them, Jin Hyuk said instead. We have enough. Boss, are you okay? Jean looked up from paperwork and his expression was different, softer. I'm thinking about going legitimate, Taehoon. Real business, clean money, legal operations. Taehoon's jaw dropped because of the woman. Because of Kimmy. Yes, because he stood walking to the window. Because Minji wouldn't want me living like this. And because for the first time since Busan, I actually want a future that's more than revenge and power. Boss, that's good. Really good. Start looking into legitimate business opportunities, entertainment, real estate, fashion, maybe. He smiled slightly. She'd like that. Evening, Jin Hyuk took Kimmy to Han River. The water reflected city lights, like liquid gold. They walked along the path, his hand holding hers. I need to tell you something, he said, stopping under a bridge where they had privacy. Kimmy's heart hammered. Had he found out? I'm leaving this life, he continued, eyes intense. The crime, the violence, all of it. For me, she whispered. For us. For the man I want to be instead of the monster I've become. Will you wait for me? Will you help me build something clean? Tears streamed down her face. Yes, she said. Yes, yes, yes. They held each other by the water, 2 people choosing love over everything that had shaped them. But neither knew that across the city, phones were ringing. Choi Sang-wook had made his move. By morning, everything would be different. Everything would be destroyed. The news broke at dawn. Kimmy's phone buzzed incessantly. Text messages, calls, emails. She ignored them all until Funmi shook her awake. Look at this. Look at this now. Funmi's laptop showed news headlines from every major outlet. Nigerian fashion designer exposed as Mafia mistress. Industrial espionage scandal rocks Seoul. Immigrant woman's love affair with crime boss revealed. The photos were everywhere. Her and Jean at restaurants. Entering his building, walking by the river. all taken from distances, angles that made everything look secretive, illicit, damning. But worse were the financial records. Doctored, but convincing. Money transfers from Jin's accounts to hers. Payments for information. Evidence of a relationship built on corruption and crime. Her fashion business was listed as a front for money laundering. Her clients were pulling out. Her reputation was destroyed. But the worst came last. A video. Her father, Emeka, meeting with men in suits in Lagos. Documents with his signature. Evidence suggesting he'd worked with crime syndicates, taken payments, been part of the violence he'd claimed to fight. It was all lies. But the world believed it. Kimmy's phone rang. Jean. She almost didn't answer. What did you do? She whispered. Nothing. His voice was raw, desperate. Kimmy, I swear to you, I didn't do this. I would never. Choi Sang-wook. This is his work. He's been planning this for months. Then why? Why would he destroy me too? Because he knows. Jin's voice broke. That destroying you destroys me. You're my weakness. My only weakness. And now the whole world knows it. Kimmy hung up. She couldn't breathe. Couldn't think. Her father's legacy, everything he'd built, everything he'd died for, was being destroyed by her choices. Her love for a man who was exactly what everyone said he was. A criminal. A monster. Someone who brought destruction to everything he touched. Funmi wrapped her in blankets, made tea, sat beside her while she sobbed. We have to leave, Funmi said softly. Tonight. Before this gets worse. Where can we go? Everywhere believes the same lies. That night, alone in her apartment, Kimmy opened her laptop one last time. The evidence folder was still there. Everything she'd gathered against Jean. Enough to destroy him completely. She could release it all. Show the world she'd been investigating him, not helping him. Clear her name by damning his. Her finger hovered over the send button. One click and it would all be over. He would be arrested, imprisoned, possibly executed. But he'd also be exposed as the man he really was. The man who'd hurt so many people. The man her father would have wanted her to stop. But he was also the man who'd held her while she cried. Who'd promised to change. Who'd looked at her like she was worth becoming better for. She closed the laptop without sending anything. 3 days passed in hell. Kimmy didn't leave her apartment. Couldn't face the streets, the stairs, the whispers. Funmi brought groceries, news updates, reports of the damage. Her fashion line was finished. No one would work with her. Soyoung had disappeared, career in shambles for associating with the scandal. The Nigerian community in Seoul was facing increased scrutiny. Immigrant workers were being investigated, harassed, some deported. Her love affair had hurt everyone. Then Taehoon came to her door. Alone, unarmed, almost broken-looking. She let him in because she had nothing left to lose. Miss Kimmy, he said formally, I need you to know something. The boss didn't do this. He's been going crazy trying to find who did, trying to fix it. He loves you. I've worked for him for 7 years. I've never seen him care about anything but revenge and power. But you. His voice broke. You made him human again. Too late. She whispered. It's all too late. Is it? Taehoon pulled out a phone, played a recording. Choi Sang-wook's voice, clear and damning, giving orders to his men. Doctor the photos. Make her look like his accomplice. Destroy her reputation. Use her father's past. Make it look like corruption runs in the family. The recording was evidence. Proof of the conspiracy. Proof that she was innocent. Why are you showing me this? She asked. Because the boss found it, Taehoon said quietly. He raided Choi Sang-wook's operation last night. Alone. Against all advice. Just to get this recording. To clear your name. Where is he now? In the hospital. Choi Sang-wook shot him 3 times. He might not make it. But his last words before surgery were about you. Clear her name. Make them see the truth. Don't let her think this was her fault. The hospital was chaos. Police, reporters, members of Jin's organization, Choi Sang-wook's men being arrested. Kimmy pushed through it all, still in yesterday's clothes. Hair unwashed, heartbreaking. She found him in the ICU. Machines keeping him alive. Face pale, bandages covering wounds that had nearly killed him. She sat beside his bed and took his hand. Idiot, she whispered. Stubborn, reckless idiot. Why did you go alone? His eyes fluttered open. Kimmy. He breathed. You're here. Always, she said, tears streaming. I'm sorry. For everything. For not trusting you. For letting this happen. Shoo. His voice was barely audible. Not your fault. Never your fault. Did Taehoon show you? The recording. Yes, you got the truth. For you. Always for you. He closed his eyes, too weak to stay conscious. She held his hand and prayed in Yoruba, the same prayers her mother had taught her, asking for healing, for forgiveness, for second chances. The recording changed everything. News outlets ran corrections. Police investigations revealed the extent of Choi Sang-wook's conspiracy. Kimi's name was cleared. Her father's reputation restored. But the damage was done. Her business was destroyed. Her trust was shattered. Her heart was broken. Jean spent 6 weeks in the hospital. She visited every day, watching him heal slowly, watching him sleep, watching him fight to come back to her. When he was strong enough to talk, really talk, she told him about the evidence she'd gathered. The choice she'd made not to destroy him. I know, he said simply. Taehoon told me everything. You could have ended me. Saved yourself. Why didn't you? Because I love you, she said. Even when I hated myself for it. Even when it cost me everything. I love you too. But he looked away. Maybe you shouldn't. What do you mean? Look what loving me cost you. Everything. Your business, your reputation, your safety. I'm poison, Kemi. I destroy everything I touch. You didn't destroy me. I chose this. I chose you. What if you choose wrong? Then I choose wrong loving someone. She leaned forward, fierce. But I won't choose fear. And I won't let you choose it either. We can build something new. Something clean. But only if you stop punishing yourself for the past and start fighting for our future. 2 months later, Jean was released. The charges against him had multiplied during his recovery. Choi Sang-wook had been thorough in his evidence planting. Financial crimes, racketeering, assault, conspiracy. Jin's lawyers said the best they could hope for was 15 to 20 years. Maybe life. He stood outside the hospital in borrowed clothes, breathing free air for what might be the last time in decades. Kemi was waiting with a car. Where to? She asked. Your choice, he said. My choice is you. Whatever that means. Wherever that leads. Even if it means visiting you in prison for the next 20 years. Even if it means building a life from nothing. Even if it means starting over completely. They drove to Han River, to the place where they'd first kissed, where they'd first chosen each other. The sun was setting, painting the water gold. I have a plan, she said. You always do. This time it's legal. Mostly. They sat on a bench, and she laid it out. Her remaining connections in the fashion industry, his business knowledge, their combined determination. A new company. Legitimate. Ethical. Using her designs and his understanding of international markets. It would take years to build. They'd start small, start clean, prove they could create instead of destroy. What about my legal troubles? He asked. We faced them together. The recording proved Choi Sang-wook set you up. Your lawyers think they can get the charges reduced. Maybe 5 years instead of 20. I'll wait, she said simply. And when you get out, we build our empire. Our way. He kissed her as the sun touched the water, and for the first time since the scandal broke, the future felt possible. The trial lasted 4 months. Kemi attended every day, sitting in the gallery, wearing purple, refusing to hide. The evidence against Jean was overwhelming, but the evidence of Choi Sang-wook's conspiracy was equally damning. The judge was torn. Justice demanded punishment for Jin's crimes. But justice also demanded recognition that he'd been manipulated, set up, used as a pawn in someone else's game. In the end, Jean pled guilty to lesser charges. 5 years in minimum security. Eligible for parole in 3. Kemi kissed him goodbye outside the courthouse, in front of reporters, in front of the world. I'll be waiting, she said. Don't wait, he replied. Live. Build something beautiful. When I get out, I'll find you. If you'll have me, broken and ex-con and trying to be better. I'll have you any way you come, she promised. Broken, whole, criminal, saint. You're mine, Jean. The only thing that changes is time. 18 months later, Kemi stood outside Seoul Detention Center, wrapped in traditional Nigerian Aso fabric, brilliant indigo patterned with gold. The autumn morning was crisp, promise hanging in the air. The doors opened. Jin Hyuk emerged, blinking in the sunlight. He looked different, softer somehow. The cold mask had shattered completely, revealing the gentle soul beneath. When he saw her, his smile reached his eyes, genuine, unguarded, free. She ran to him. Their embrace lasted minutes, years, lifetimes, compressed into one perfect moment. I'm not the same man, he whispered into her hair. Good, she whispered back. I'm not the same woman either. They built something real through prison letters. Honest conversations about fear, growth, healing, no games, no manipulation, just two broken people choosing to become whole together. 6 months later, they married in a small ceremony blending Korean and Nigerian traditions. Taehoon stood as best man, Funmi as maid of honor. The guest list was intimate, people who'd witnessed their destruction and reconstruction. Now they stood at Han River, the place where promises had once been made and broken. Kimmy placed flowers in the water for her father, for Minji, for everyone the violence had claimed. They'd be proud, Jin Hyuk said softly. We didn't let the pain win, Kimmy agreed. Her fashion line, a Maluab collection, thrived. Jin Hyuk worked beside her, channeling his business genius into ethical enterprise. Together, they built something beautiful from ashes. She looked at their intertwined hands, her wedding ring, a fusion of Nigerian gold and Korean jade. People ask if I regret playing you, she said, but we weren't playing games. We were breaking each other open so the light could finally get in. He kissed her temple. And now, we shine. The sun set over Seoul, painting the sky in shades of redemption. Two cultures, two broken hearts, one perfect love. Did their love story break your heart and put it back together? Like if you believe in second chances and subscribe for more passionate tales of love, redemption, and cultures colliding. See you in the next one. 5 years after their wedding, Kimmy stood in the boardroom of their international headquarters in Lagos, her pregnant belly prominent beneath a flowing emerald dress she designed herself. The Adebayo fashion empire had grown beyond their wildest dreams, with boutiques in Seoul, Lagos, London, and New York. But success had brought new enemies, new dangers they never anticipated. The video call connected, and Jin Hyuk's face appeared on screen from their Seoul office, his expression grave. We have a problem, he said without preamble. The Yakuza have made contact. They want to discuss our expansion into Tokyo. Kimmy's blood ran cold. The Japanese crime syndicate had been circling their business for months, making subtle inquiries, testing boundaries. She'd hoped their legitimate status would keep them safe from that world. What kind of discussion? She asked, though she already knew the answer. The kind that isn't really a discussion, Jean replied. They're demanding a partnership or they'll ensure our Tokyo launch fails completely. They've already started. 3 of our suppliers have mysteriously backed out this week. From her office in London, Funmi's voice crackled through another connection. It's not just Tokyo, she said grimly. I'm getting reports from our Lagos operation too. The Edo boys are asking questions about our family connections, about Jin's past. Someone's been spreading rumors that we're still connected to organized crime. Kimmy touched her belly protectively. Their unborn daughter seemed to sense her mother's stress, kicking restlessly. This was supposed to be behind us, she whispered. We went legitimate. We paid our debts to society. Jin's jaw tightened on screen. The past never stays buried in this business. Not completely. But we're not the same people we were 5 years ago. We're stronger. We have resources, connections, legitimate power. What do you want to do? The question hung in the air between them, heavy with possibility and danger. They could fight, using their business empire and legal connections to push back against criminal pressure. They could flee, abandon everything they'd built, and start over somewhere new. Or they could negotiate, walking the razor's edge between legitimate business and the criminal underworld once again. Before Kimmy could answer, her assistant burst into the boardroom, face pale with terror. Mrs. Lee, she gasped. There's been an incident at the Seoul office. Armed men, they took Mr. Taehoon. They left a message. The assistant handed Kimmy a phone. A video message played. Taehoon tied to a chair in what looked like a warehouse, blood trickling from a cut on his forehead. His eyes were defiant, but Kimmy could see the fear underneath. A voice spoke from off-camera, accented English with a Japanese inflection. Kimmy Adebayo, your husband's past has caught up with his present. Taehoon Kim dies unless you agree to our terms within 24 hours. Bring your husband to the coordinates we're sending. Come alone, both of you. No security, no police, no clever plans. Just 2 people ready to discuss the future of your empire. The video ended. Kimmy stared at the blank screen, her world tilting. Taehoon had been like a brother to Jean, had stood by them through everything, had helped them build their legitimate business from nothing. Now he was paying the price for their past. Jin's voice came through the video call, deadly quiet. I know who this is. Matsumoto Kenji. He's been hunting me for 7 years, ever since I destroyed his soul operation during my gang days. I thought he was dead. Apparently not, Funmi said grimly. What's the play? We go, Kemi said immediately. We save Taehoon. Jin shook his head. It's a trap. Matsumoto doesn't want to negotiate. He wants revenge. If we go, we all die. If we don't go, Taehoon dies anyway, Kemi replied. At least this way we fight for him. At least we try. The baby kicked again, harder this time. Kemi winced, one hand going to her belly. Jean noticed immediately, even through the video connection. Kemi, you're 6 months pregnant. You can't. I'm not staying behind while you walk into certain death, she interrupted. We do this together or not at all. That was always our rule. Funmi cleared her throat. There might be another option. I've been tracking some interesting financial movements over the past month. Someone's been buying up property around our Lagos headquarters, shell companies with Japanese backing, but also some local investors, people connected to your father's old union contacts. Kemi. What are you saying? Kemi asked. I'm saying maybe we're not as alone in this as we think. Your father made a lot of friends in Lagos before he died. People who remember what he stood for, who know what you've built in his honor. And Jean, your reputation in Seoul isn't just about crime anymore. The legitimate businesses you've supported, the jobs you've created, people remember that too. We could call in favors. Make this bigger than just us versus them. Jean was quiet for a long moment, thinking. Then his expression hardened with resolve. We'll need help from both sides of our world. Legal and illegal. I know people who owe me debts, people who respect what we've become. But if we do this, we're risking everything we've built. If it goes wrong, then we rebuild, Kemi said firmly. But we don't abandon family. Not Taehoon, not each other. Not our unborn daughter, who deserves to inherit something better than fear. The next 18 hours were a blur of careful planning and dangerous phone calls. Jean reached out to contacts from his criminal past who'd also gone legitimate. Men who understood the delicate balance between old debts and new lives. Kemi called in favors from politicians, business leaders, and international law enforcement contacts who'd helped legitimize their operations. Funmi coordinated from London, using her network of information brokers and security experts to map out Matsumoto's operation. By the time they reached the coordinates, an abandoned shipyard outside Seoul, they weren't coming alone. Hidden in the shadows around the perimeter were 24 allies, a mix of reformed criminals, private security, and off-duty police officers who believed in second chances. The plan was delicate, risky, dependent on perfect timing and a lot of luck. But it was better than walking in defenseless. Kemi and Jean approached the main warehouse hand in hand, her belly prominent beneath a bulletproof vest designed to look like a fashionable coat. She could feel their daughter moving restlessly, as if sensing the danger surrounding them. Matsumoto waited inside with a dozen armed men. He was smaller than Kemi had expected, maybe 50 years old with graying hair and cold eyes that seemed to catalog every detail about them. Beside him, Taehoon hung from chains, conscious but clearly beaten. Mrs. Adebayo Lee, Matsumoto said politely. Mr. Lee, thank you for coming. I wasn't certain you would. People change over the years, develop different priorities. Our priorities haven't changed, Jean replied evenly. Family first. Always. How touching, Matsumoto smiled without warmth. Family destroyed my operation in Seoul 7 years ago. Cost me $50 million and 2 years in prison. I've been very patient, waiting for the right moment for payback. You want your money back? Take it, Kemi said. We can wire $50 million tonight. This isn't about money anymore, Matsumoto replied. This is about respect. About understanding that actions have consequences, even years later. Even when you think you've gone legitimate. He gestured to his men. Kill the pregnant woman first. Let Lee watch. Then kill Lee slowly. Leave the Korean as a message to anyone else who thinks they can escape their past. The warehouse erupted into chaos. Jean moved faster than Kemi had ever seen him, tackling her behind a stack of shipping containers as bullets started flying. Their allies poured in from every entrance, the careful plan dissolving into desperate urban warfare. Smoke grenades filled the air. Shouts in 3 languages echoed off concrete walls. Gunfire strobed like deadly lightning. Stay down, Jean commanded, pressing Kemi against the floor behind cover. But she couldn't just hide. Taehoon was still chained up, still in danger. while Jean returned fire, keeping Matsumoto's men pinned. Kemi crawled through the smoke toward her friend. A guard appeared in front of her, raising his weapon. She struck with moves her father had taught her decades ago in Lagos, disarming him and sending him sprawling. Taehun's eyes widened as she reached him. "Boss lady," he croaked through split lips. "You shouldn't be here." "Neither should you," she replied, working frantically at his chains. "But here we are." The metal cuffs clicked open just as an explosion rocked the warehouse. Part of the roof collapsed, concrete and metal raining down around them. Kemi threw herself over Taehun, protecting him with her body as debris crashed where they'd been standing. Pain shot through her belly, sharp and wrong. She gasped, one hand going to her stomach. "The baby," she whispered. "Something's wrong." Taehun struggled to his feet, supporting her weight. "We need to get you out of here. Now." Through the smoke and chaos, Jin's voice rang out, calling her name with desperate urgency. She tried to answer, but another contraction bent her double. This couldn't be happening. Not here, not now, not like this. Taehun half-carried her toward the sound of Jin's voice, dodging falling debris and stray bullets. They found him crouched behind an overturned table, reloading his weapon with practiced efficiency. His eyes went wide when he saw Kemi's condition. "Hospital," he said immediately. "Forget the fight. We're leaving now." But Matsumoto stepped out of the smoke, bleeding from a head wound, but still armed. His remaining men flanked him, maybe 6 still standing. The warehouse had become a tomb filled with bodies from both sides. "No one leaves," Matsumoto snarled. "This ends here. This ends now." "You want to end something," Jean said, standing slowly with his hands visible. "End it with me. Let them go. This was always between us." Matsumoto laughed bitterly. "Look around you, Lee. Your past destroyed everything. Your pregnant wife is bleeding, your friend is beaten half to death. And for what? Because you thought you could just walk away from what you were. Some stains never wash out." He raised his gun toward Kemi. "Some debts never get paid." The shot echoed through the warehouse. But it wasn't Matsumoto who fired. Funmi stepped from behind a pillar, smoking pistol in her hands, her face grim with satisfaction. The Japanese crime boss crumpled to the concrete, his weapon clattering away and used. "Sorry I'm late," she said coolly. London traffic was murder. Matsumoto's remaining men, seeing their leader down, began to surrender. The immediate threat was over, but Kemi's condition was getting worse. Her contractions were coming faster now, and there was definitely blood. "Hospital," Jean said again, scooping her into his arms. "Right now?" The ambulance arrived within minutes, called by their allies who'd been monitoring police frequencies. As paramedics worked frantically to stabilize Kemi during the race through Seoul streets, she gripped Jin's hand with desperate strength. "If something happens to me," she gasped between contractions. "If I don't make it." "You're going to make it," he said fiercely. "Both of you. You don't get to leave me now. Not after everything we've survived. Promise me," she insisted. "Promise me you'll raise her right. Teach her about her grandfather, about fighting for justice. But also teach her that some fights aren't worth dying for. Some enemies aren't worth becoming monsters to defeat." "I promise," he whispered, kissing her forehead as another contraction racked her body. "But you're going to raise her yourself. You're going to teach her everything. We're going to do it together." The hospital became their world for the next 12 hours. Emergency surgery, complications from stress and trauma, touch-and-go moments where Jean thought he might lose everything that mattered. Taehun sat in the waiting room with a dozen stitches in his forehead, refusing pain medication until he knew his friends were safe. Funmi coordinated cleanup operations, ensuring Matsumoto's surviving men were turned over to authorities and that their business empire remained protected from the fallout. When their daughter finally arrived, 2 months early but breathing and fighting, Jean held her tiny form with hands that shook from relief and exhaustion. She was perfect, beautiful, impossibly small but unmistakably strong. Like her mother, Kemi slept for 14 hours straight after the surgery, and when she finally opened her eyes, Jean was there beside her cradle/Angie, their daughter. The baby's skin was a beautiful blend of her parents' heritage, her tiny fingers already grasping with determination. "What are we going to call her?" Kemi whispered, her voice hoarse but steady. Jean smiled through tears he hadn't realized he was crying. "I was thinking Emikaminji, after both our fathers. After the people who taught us that love is worth fighting for." "Emikaminji Adebayo Lee," Kimmy repeated softly. Our little fighter. Their daughter opened dark eyes that seemed to take in the whole world with curious intelligence. She was born into danger, into chaos, into a family with a complicated past. But she was also born into love, into protection, into parents who'd proven they would sacrifice everything for each other and for her. 6 months later, they stood together on the roof garden of their soul headquarters, watching the sunset paint the city in shades of gold and crimson. Emeka Minji slept peacefully in her father's arms while Kimmy finalized plans for their global expansion. The Yakuza threat had ended with Matsumoto's death. Their business was stronger than ever. But they'd learned valuable lessons about the price of success and the importance of protecting what mattered most. We could retire, Jean said quietly. Sell everything, move somewhere quiet, raise our daughter away from all this complexity. We could, Kimmy agreed. But then what happens to all the people who work for us? All the communities we support? All the changes we're making in the fashion industry? All the good we could still do? Jean kissed their daughter's forehead, then looked at his wife with eyes full of love and admiration. You're right. As usual, we don't run from responsibility. We find ways to fulfill it safely. But no more surprises from the past. No more enemies with 7-year grudges. If anyone else has a problem with who we used to be, they can take it up with our lawyers. Deal, Kimmy laughed, leaning against his shoulder. Besides, Emeka Minji is going to need to learn the family business eventually. Someone has to take over when we actually do retire in 30 years. Their daughter stirred in Jin's arms, making soft sounds that might have been agreement or hunger. With babies, it was often hard to tell the difference. As they headed inside to continue building their empire and raising their family, neither Kimmy nor Jean looked back at the path that had brought them to this moment. They'd survived gang wars and betrayal, scandal and imprisonment, kidnapping and attempted murder. They built something beautiful from ashes and trauma. Most importantly, they'd proven that love could transform even the most broken people into something worthy of the future they dreamed of creating. Their story wasn't ending. It was just beginning a new chapter, one where their daughter would learn that strength comes from standing up for what's right, that family means never abandoning each other, and that sometimes the most dangerous path leads to the most beautiful destinations. The Seoul skyline glittered beneath them like scattered diamonds, full of promise and possibility. Somewhere in the city, other broken people were falling in love, making mistakes, choosing redemption over revenge. Somewhere, other families were being born from chaos and determination. And somewhere, the next generation was preparing to inherit a world where second chances weren't just possible, but expected. Where love wasn't just a feeling but a choice made daily, courageously, completely. Emeka Minji Adebayo would grow up knowing she was born from that kind of love. The kind that transforms everything it touches. The kind that never gives up, never backs down, never stops believing that people can change, and that tomorrow can be better than yesterday. The kind of love that builds empires and breaks down barriers, and proves that sometimes the most unlikely people make the strongest families. As the sun disappeared behind Seoul's mountains, and the city lights began to twinkle like earthbound stars, the Adebayo family headed home, ready for whatever challenges tomorrow might bring, ready to face them together.